I think a trucker, more than any other man, is super masculine. I mean, you find them in other walks of life and other jobs, but you figure that man's on that road and he's wheeling that big old 18-wheeler all around the roads, and he's having to hold that on the road, and they're not small. Maybe it takes one heck of a big man to do it.
Right before recording this podcast, I was watching an old documentary on, old truckers, old-time truckers from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it was clear to me, you think about back then, the lack of communication that you would have had with your dispatch, with any emergency vehicles, right? You could find yourself in a real pickle if you broke down in the desert and nobody could get to you, and you had to be able to have some kind of knowledge on how to fix your truck, right? To at least get it somewhere, to limp it somewhere, and they had this old ethic, right? You didn't drive past somebody. If you saw someone who was in trouble, you would stop for them and help them out. You were never alone. One old timer told me, he said, you were never alone when you were out there. And, so there was this real pride, there's this pride in being independent, right? And one woman, she said, she viewed trucking as a very masculine job, because to actually be able to do a job like this, you had to be a tough guy, right? It wasn't like today where you've got satellite watching your every move. You got load trackers oftentimes on the very pallets within the load themselves, sending feedback to the shipper and the receiver, letting them know how the load's doing, right? You didn't have 360 cameras watching you as a driver, right, to see if you passed out, or, now they got cameras. Some companies have cameras, they shoot right at your face, and if you nod your head a couple of times, they turn on, they start recording you, right? There just wasn't as much oversight. And even when I got into it back in 2001, we were at the end of this, and I remember being, when I first started, we had a bag phone, right? We had a bag phone, and we still very much heavily relied on the pay phone. My truck trainer, when he trained me, he would say to me, first thing when we get to a customer, you need to tell me where the pay phone is. Do they have a pay phone? That's all I want to know from you. So I would go in, if I forgot to check, he would yell at me. It was pretty typical. So I learned quick, right? That was what we did. And but we had a bag phone that we rarely ever used. And then from there, we moved on to a cell phone that was kind of optional. Most of the time, mine was dead. Nobody said anything to me about it, right? They didn't care if I had it on. I would just get my load, and I would go. Sometimes I'd just shut it off so dispatch didn't bother me, and I would go. And then they moved on to satellites, right? Satellites actually were just starting to become a pretty popular thing, I think, back when I started. Like, they were just, all this stuff was catching on, right? And so I had the Qualcomm system, and I used to hear beep. I freaking hated that. I hate it today. I hate that noise. But so now you got the 360. You've got those 360 cameras watching your every move, and you've got cameras on your face. If you nod too much, they'll turn on. Like, everything is so, everybody's being watched now. So the old mentality of, hey, we're going to you're never alone. Someone will pull over and stop for you. Well, we typically, in all walks of life, just assume anybody on the side of the road probably has a cell phone, or they got a satellite. They're okay. We don't need to stop for them. They'll have roadside for them. Sooner or later, someone's going to come and get them, right? Maybe someone from their own company will go by, but they'll be all right. We just assume, and we don't stop for them. So it's a completely different ethic that we have today, right? Everything is more. Society itself is more of a surveillance society, right? And you don't really need to be mechanically inclined. You don't need to be mechanically inclined to drive a truck, because the odds of you dying in the desert are pretty low. Someone's going to get to you, right? But you should, just so you should know how, because there are dead zones in the desert. I've lived it. So yeah, there's on that, in that sense, the old style truck driver. That is dead. That lifestyle, as far as I can see, is dead. It's practically dead now, just because of technology, right? You are no longer independent, right? You are watched from the moment you leave the terminal to the time you log in, all the way to where you go. Because that's what shippers and receivers want. Like, really, the only reason that old lifestyle existed, as I see it, it only existed because there was a lack of oversight. There was a lack of technology that could give them the oversight that they wanted, right? It's the oversight that we have, like when you read about freight fraud, which I'm going to do a video on. Freight fraud is rampant. Billions of dollars are lost every year. And so companies have been developing, in tandem with the fraudsters, technology, like they're going back and forth trying to, the technology is trying to catch the fraudsters. The fraudsters are coming up with new technology to outwit the technology that's created to bust them, right? So the old lifestyle, the old trucker, it was destined to go away. It just was, and that is dead as far as I'm concerned. Or if it's not dead, it's that is dying. Now, as for other parts of trucking, right? Think about the cost of doing business now, right? You've got the owner-operator that buys himself a truck because maybe they have this nostalgic dream of becoming one of these, an independent, highway cowboy, which I'm not saying that mockingly, that they really were. Like, these were masculine dudes. Fire truck just went by. These were masculine dudes. So I'm not mocking them, but people still have that dream of being independent owner-operators, owning their own business and, getting on the open road with their payload and, just being left alone. But in the modern market, with everything being so expensive, I feel like you guys are getting pushed out. I feel like you guys are getting very slowly pushed out of the market, like a farmer, right? Like a small family farmer, because the bigger companies, they can absorb maintenance costs a lot better, right? They can get better deals on their trucks where you pay full price. Whether it's the fuel, they get better deals on their fuel. They get better deals on the different parts, like anything, like literally anything. Tires, for example, right? You're going to pay full price for all of these things, and the mega carriers, they don't have to worry about it, right? And then you have to put all that, putting the new all the new environmental systems on your truck, like DEF, right? Having to put DEF in your truck, it's just an added cost. And so the big mega carriers, they get deals all over the place, and things are very expensive. And so in that sense also, I would say it's dying. The age of the owner-operator is dying. And I remember when I was in trucking school, and this guy came up to me, and he was a representative for Freightliner. He said, if you try to buy a truck in your first year, we're gonna play your conscience for you a little bit, And that's probably because you don't know business, right? I didn't know business, I didn't know trends. Trends are a big deal in the trucking industry, right? I could picture someone with no business knowledge getting out of school right now, buying their own truck in the middle of a freight recession. That's something a new truck driver would do, right? So they just, all they're thinking about is the dream, right? They're not thinking about business realities and trends. And excuse me, right now, I would say the trend is toward mega fleets, right? And then there's another layer on this, right? So you got technology, like you got the oversight, taking that lifestyle away. You've got the cost, slowly pushing owner-operators out. But then for the fleet driver, is trucking dying? Well, right now we're in the middle of a technology revolution. And we're still working out the bugs to this technology revolution, but it's coming as surely as night follows day. I did a video on autonomous vehicles, right? They're already testing it in the South, in the United States and Texas. They're also testing it here in Ontario, Canada. And I'm not sure if other provinces. I was just looking into our program. We literally just started a 10-year test run for level 3, 4, and 5. That's drivers in the truck to no driver in the truck, right? So it is, in that sense, I would say 15 to 25 years, even fleet drivers are going to start getting pushed out. The fleets will be fine, but the fleet driver is going to start getting pushed out because they're not going to be needed. Very, very slowly, these big fleets are going to start taking on more autonomous vehicles. And another siren going by my house. Very slowly, these fleets are going to start taking on more and more of these autonomous vehicles, and they're not going to need you. All these discussions about driver shortages, we aren't going to be debating if there's a driver shortage, because there's absolutely not going to be a driver shortage at that point, because there won't be there'll be too many drivers. There will absolutely be too many drivers, right? It won't just be a matter of the market compressing and expanding. It'll be a matter of there are just too many drivers, right? So in that way, there's going to be a lot less drivers, and the drivers that are going to be the winners when that happens. Here's my prediction: the dinosaur independent driver, you're gone. The owner-operator is going to be gone, and any steering wheel holder, you're probably going to be in trouble in the next 25, 30 years, okay? The people that are going to be the winners in the next 25, 30 years are going to be specialized truck drivers. From what I read, even owner-operators right now, actually, the winners are the ones that do specialized loads, hazardous materials and stuff like that. If I was owner-operator, if I was going to do it, that's what I would get into. But the winners are going to be anybody who actually has real skills. And I don't mean to knock anybody who just does over the road stuff. I've done all of this. I've done it all. Okay, other than I've not been my own owner operator, but like I haven't owned my own truck, but I've done a lot. Okay, and the more specialized you are, the harder it is for autonomous technology to do away with you. And even right now, while autonomous vehicles are being tested, I know in Ontario at least, the ones that are being tested are 53-foot trailers, just regular 53-foot trailers. So those are going to be the first people to go, right? People that can do B trains, probably flatbed or A trains, or just anything that's really specialized, right? Lift axles, anything with a lift axle, you're probably going to survive for the long haul. But anybody else, yeah, I would say trucking is not dying, but it's changing. Technology is changing it inside and out. It's changing it to the point where trucking will survive, but the driver probably won't at some point, right? In the foreseeable future, just the specialized driver is going to be the winner. So anyways, that's how I see this whole situation. If you like the content, do me a favor, subscribe, leave your comments down below. If you're an owner operator, you know more about your business than I do. This is me as an outsider looking in to your world a little bit. It's also my reasons why I wouldn't buy my own truck at this point, right? Not that I know more than you. I'm just saying these are my reasons as an outsider why I wouldn't get into it. So do me a favor, like and subscribe, leave your comments down below. Till next time, keep the rubber side down. Cheers.